Spencer, on the Hampshire Senior Cup, we've seen on social media that AFC Portchester and Basingstoke Town are facing each other in the next round. Can you inform the supporters what's going on?
I've got notes. Stand by. So, first and foremost thing is I've spoken to the directors. They know, they've asked me to speak to everyone, tell us what's going on, and I've written down lots of notes, so it's not off the cuff. And first thing we have to say is we've not been informed. We have not been officially told that we, at this moment, have been thrown out of the cup. And I'm going to try and use my words carefully. I'm going to give facts, and then everyone can make their own decisions, because I'm sure this will go further. Number one, the reason we're fighting so hard about this is that we won the competition, we're the holders. We worked incredibly hard to win the competition. Nearly every year we put a strong first team into this competition, unlike nearly every side who treat it as a very low level, in inverted commas, tin pot cup. And we wanted to reward our supporters who had a most fantastic night at Eastleigh with everything that was thrown against us, which I'm going to talk about as well, because a lot of it is unknown. And we wanted to give the opportunity to retain it. And when the draw came out, we were told a number of dates, and we have been informed numerous times in writing that Portchester were ordered to play this game on the 4th, I think it was, 4th or 5th of Jan, and they refused. And there's a lot of nonsense going on here. Our fixture secretary wrote to them numerous times, and Portchester said, no, we've got a huge league match and we've sold out catering and we're not playing. But it didn't matter, because the Hampshire FA wrote to them and said, you are playing, and they copied us in. And then there was no response, and our fixture secretary messaged them nearly every day by email and message. And then she asked me to get involved, and I've got my phone here, and I can assure you that I called, messaged and texted, of which I've got on my phone. And they decided to ignore us the whole time. And we wondered what was going on, because we expected to play on the 4th. Now, my first reaction is that normally in these competitions you have to be registered, players need to be registered before the game, and I will categorically state every player that played against Portchester was fully registered to this football club and was eligible to play. And we're into a grey area, and it's a really poor area. And the grey area is about what is the round date, and Hampshire are using that there was a round date, but I can't see it. And as you will know in an interview, Dom, I mentioned before I was worried how many players we had left. But then another director said to me, that's not a rule. It's not a rule. You know, the game was set eventually for, well, it was meant to be on the 4th, 5th. And Portchester refused to play because they had a big game. Well, I'd like to remind people that we asked to move the Hampshire Cup final because we had a huge game for promotion against Hayes and Yedding the following Saturday, and they refused. So all of a sudden, Portchester have put pressure clearly on. It can be no other thing, and nothing happened. And then we found out today, going through the messages, that amazingly the email telling Portchester to play the game didn't get out of Hampshire FA. They've said, oh, it got stuck in the system. Then they said they weren't available all Christmas, New Year. They didn't look at their emails, but we've got all the messages on the phones as well. So I've got messages, Elaine, our fixture secretary's got messages, emails and messages, and they've all disappeared. Nobody's looking at it. So the inference is that Portchester said, well, we're not playing. So all of a sudden, we're then saying, well, we can play any day. And they said, we're going to pick a free date for you, which is now on the, I think it's the 4th or 10th of February, another 5 weeks away. And the problem we've now got is we don't have an academy. And there's an inference here that, well, Portchester are thinking, we don't have enough players to play this game. We didn't know about it. And it doesn't say in the rules, it's not clear that it's not like a postponement in the FA Cup due to weather, where if you're eligible for the first game, you've got to be eligible for the first game. All our players were fully registered. And Portchester disregard the competition, send their poor kids to us. We play who we've got available on the day, and it's 8. Was it 8? 8 or 9?
Yeah, 8.
And Portchester have complained. Well, we've got a big problem here, because Hampshire FA haven't done their job. They haven't sent the email, they claim. We'd like to see evidence that it bounced back. We've put in mitigation that if the rule is the first date. Well, that's a problem. So what happens if you play 2 months later like we're doing? They're saying it's the 12th of December. We would have had 9 fit players. We have represented this competition honourably. We're a very big club in Hampshire. I'm not showing off, we are. And we are being treated, quite frankly, with disdain. They've not even told us we're out. They've not even told us. They've just done it. They've not looked at the mitigation because the rules are not very clear. Every player was fully registered to play. So Portchester had a massive game, first v second on the Saturday after the Hampshire Cup game, and sent their kids. So where's the respect in that when we sent a strong team for the Hampshire Cup final? I think we're going to appeal if we can. We don't know yet. Of course, we haven't even been told. Because it's on the point of principle, and the reason is for our fans who had a fantastic night there, and we want to honour the competition. And I don't think it's right that it looks at the moment, the only way they can get us out of the competition is to look into a grey area, and they haven't even had the courtesy of sending the reasons why yet, and about this round it, because it is a grey area and every player was fully registered. And Portugal sent their kids and said, oh, we don't care, we've got a big game on the Saturday. Well, why have they forced the game so far back so that we don't have players ineligible to fit the game? You could say they've done it deliberately. It's just wrong. I actually hope Portugal win it if we're not in it. How can you win a cup when you've lost 8-0 and you've disregarded the competition by sending your kids prioritising the league? You know, we've been messed around with Bournemouth games and you can't play at their place and you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and we're one of the few clubs who put in the first team. And I think you have to understand what also happened at Eastleigh, because I did a radio interview which sadly didn't go through, and I think our fans now need to understand what happened at Eastleigh. Obviously there's the whole issue about when the game was and who it was at, and again there were a lot of, let's be generous, grey areas. I'll give you some facts. We were told we could only take 16 players into the ground. I said, well, I've got injuries, got to look at them. They said, we're not going to let them in. We were given the match balls, completely different match ball, at 7:25, 3 of them. Most people know at football you're coming in at 7:30. We were told we couldn't have anyone else on the pitch. We were told that because we don't have a coach, we'd only get a certain amount of car parking spaces, and they wanted our players to pay for parking, yet it was a free car park. My fantastic committee, many of which have been involved in Hampshire football for 50, 60 years, it ran out of food, I'm told, in the boardroom. Now, you want to go and accuse them of lying? Don't. Just don't. It's so disrespectful. I'm going to tell you something else the fans don't know. We put out a statement because we were very unhappy about that league. The fact they wouldn't move it, they're meant to be supporting us. We're a senior club in Hampshire. They did everything against it. There's an incredible cartoon someone put up, and I laughed my head off. What Hampshire office the day after. Their first tweet was, congratulations Eastleigh, good game. No, we've won the cup. Congratulate the team that's won it. Eventually they might have done something, but it was all against us. But because of the statement that went up, a number of our fans and a number of people that are not our fans, are not known to the club, did a lot of social media. What isn't known, I'm about to announce now, is we were fined by Hampshire. I believe it was £250. They fined us for that because of what we said, so that people put on social media. We got fined for stating as for facts were there. So there's an argument, is this fit for purpose? We can take it to the FA. It's a grey rule. Normally I would say I'm desperate to get out of the cup. I've just pulled up another 2 injuries tonight. Desperate to be out of it. But I'm doing what I think is right. The board are doing what's thinking it's right. Is we had a fantastic night for our fans and we wanted to try and defend that trophy. I think Portchester have acted appallingly. And Hampshire have given us no support. The day at Eastleigh was borderline. Well, it is what it is. Those are the facts, and I think people should understand. We can't get hold of them over Christmas, New Year. They're not answering phones. They're not answering text messages, voice messages, emails, because Portugal didn't want to play. Well, if we played that date, we would have had loads of players, if that rule is correct, because we can't see it. There might be a message on the internet when they put the draw up, but it's the rules that count, and I'm struggling to see in the rules, because when my director said, no Spencer, you can play who you like as long as they're registered, I went through the rules and I couldn't see it. I could be wrong, but why has the game been pushed so far away? What happens if a county cup final regularly gets played the following season? It can happen with the weather. Well, what are you going to do then? One club might have no players from before. It's, you know, at the moment they're looking after who they want to look after. And I'm going to make this very clear. And I said I've taken instructions from the board. I hope the main FA look at this. I hope Hampshire FA reconsider it, but clearly at the moment they're not interested. They've just chucked us out and not told us, hence we haven't made an official statement yet. I'm aware they'll look at everything in this interview, but I'm going to tell you now. this is a big club in Hampshire, and whilst I'm the manager of this team, if this doesn't get resolved fairly, this club will not send a first team into this competition again while I'm in charge. If it's an away game, we will sign up whoever and send them. They have just lost one of the biggest clubs. We're not interested anymore. If it's a home game, we will withdraw if we can. We'll take the fine because we're not going to lose money. So they can now have another senior club playing kids, people that aren't interested. You know, it's really disappointing. I think they need to look very hardly at themselves. I'm sure they'll just throw it under and charge this and do that. But these are facts. They're facts about parking. They're facts about match balls. They're facts about fining us. You know, they haven't told us today what's going on. These are facts, and we're doing it for our fans. Because I said, right now, as the manager of this club, with whatever it is, 15 games after that, I can really do without it. But I saw the faces of our fans there on Eastleigh that night, and we wanted to defend the trophy. And this is possibly the only way they can get us out. And look, as I said, I'm sure if it goes, they'll say, well, it's a grey area, but we're deciding. Well, so what? They'll make us play next season and say we haven't got any players and kick you out. You know, we're the ones that have represented this trophy honourably. First team, going out, first team squad. You know, we've got a fantastic ground. We've never been offered to do anything with them. They haven't supported us pretty much with anything. Trying to get in 4G pitches or anything like that. No support whatsoever. Well, they've now made a club go, do you know, we wanted nothing to do with them. I know Rob's looked at trying to move to another FA. You know, that's how angry we feel. So they've just lost another club now. We'll do what most of the other senior clubs in the league do in this cup competition. We will treat it as it deserves and go, do you know what, we're not interested. So I'm sure they won't bother to care. I think it's for everyone to make their own minds up, having heard those facts. It's all on my phone. It's all on our secretary's phone. It's all there to be stood up and be counted. We are going to do our best to appeal it. The normal thing is we should just go, forget it and move on. But if you don't stand up sometimes, then I'm afraid this is what happens. And I think it's right that, you know, I've spent a lot of time on the phone with the directors today, deciding what to do. And I'm sure they'll put a written statement out once we get the written bit. And they said, I've probably given away too much information already of what we would put in appeal, if we can appeal, if it's even worth it. But we want our fans to know. We haven't even been told we've been kicked out. It's just appeared on Basingstoke and Porchester's. Well, it almost sums it up. We don't know if the mitigation, you know, as such we've pleaded guilty, but it's, well, you told Porchester to play. They didn't want to play. Kick them out. We should have gone through on the 4th of January. Then they've sent their kids. Then they've complained. Talk about honour in the competition. So there's a big round. There's a lot of legals in there, and if you don't mind, Dom, because I've been told lots of stuff has got to be, yeah, we chased and chased to play the game and they ignored it every time. You know, it's the whole thing is just quite ridiculous. But at the end of the day, as I said, we wanted everybody. We've been fined last year, which is, you know, we've got to control our. They're not even our fans. If people want to comment on what we've said, you know, that's what happens when you're not open. So I think they need to have a very hard look at it. I've never known anyone disappear the whole of Christmas, New Year, the busiest time in football. I mean, everyone can make their own minds up. I'm not casting dispersions. You guys can all decide. So. Yeah, there you go. That's the situation. At this moment in time, according to Basingstoke and Porchester, we've been kicked out. We will wait and see what happens. I'm sure there's more to run on it. And we would have liked to defend it. Frankly, after tonight's performance, I can do without the game, but we want everyone to understand. So, we haven't lost in the Hampshire Cup. We're still the holders, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you for the honest explanation, Spencer.
I'm going to go and take a break now.
Cool. Thank you, Spencer.
Cheers, Dom.